Carson Beck. Big conversation here, gentlemen. It kind of came to a shock to everybody. First off, was intending on going to the NFL draft, leaving the Georgia Bulldogs. He was dealing with an injury too as well that eliminated him from participating in the rest of the college football playoff. But then there's some news that he is entering the transfer portal, and it was pretty much immediate that he was going to be joining his girly girl down there in Coral Gables and Miami, and going to go join hand in hand with Mario Cristobal because they saw what they were able to find with Cam Ward, although it didn't make it to the postseason like they liked to. They wanted to go to the playoffs, but ended up at the Pop-Tart Bowl. But now Carson Beck is with the Hurricanes. I'm interested to get y'all's take on this. FSU Twitter, of course, whenever something happens. I mean, we heard all about it when Thomas Castellanos went to FSU, heard all the Kyler Murray jokes and how small he is. Kyler Murray's in the NFL right now, by the way, as a starting quarterback. But heard all the jokes and everything, but interested to get y'all's initial reaction to that, and just kind of how that could affect Florida State this upcoming season for the Seminoles, as Florida State will have them at home this upcoming season.
I would say it scares me a lot less than, the addition of Cam Ward last year. And, Carson Beck, been a pretty talented quarterback throughout his career at Georgia. At the same time, he's coming off a pretty devastating injury, that UCL injury that he suffered in the SEC championship. And, just doing some research on that and the recovery time, it can take up to 4 months before a player is even going through basic throwing activities again. So, at the very least, it sounds like he could miss the entirety of spring practice for Miami and not be back to closer to 100% until late in the summer, getting close to fall camp and the season. So, depending on how all of that shakes out, he's going to have a hard time, losing those physical reps, obviously, to learn a new offense at Miami, developing chemistry with his new set of playmakers, which Miami seems like right now only bringing in one wide receiver through the transfer portal. So we'll just see how it goes. But just with the circumstances right now, I would say it doesn't scare me a whole lot.
I completely agree. He was pretty good 2 years ago, to the point where I even thought he could sneak his way into the first round if he had declared for the draft last year. And then this year, granted, his wide receivers did not help him at all this year at Georgia. I think they dropped something like 30 or 35 passes. It was something insane. So he didn't get any help there. But at the same time, he just wasn't making the same kind of plays that he was the year prior. And like Dustin just mentioned, tough injury to overcome, and they paid him a lot of money to come to campus to deal with this injury and recover and maybe be ready for that first game. We'll have to see. But yeah, I agree. It doesn't really scare me the same way that Cam Ward did. And I don't know how Miami is really going to do with that.
And we'll see how the schedule shakes out. Probably not going to hear anything as far as official dates for the rest of those 2025 games for a couple more weeks. But especially if Florida State's able to get an early matchup with Miami there in September, maybe early October, you've got to wonder how 100% Beck will be at that point.
I feel like we haven't played them in September since like 2008.
Interesting to see how Carson Beck does. I don't know.
2009.
Something like that. It's been a while.
Carson Beck. I don't know. A lot of things have to shake out there for the Miami Hurricanes all across the board in order to see if they can find some success. What was it, $3 to $4 million in NIL money? Something like that.
It's the rumor.
Put a lot of that there. Don't they need some offensive linemen to protect a guy that's going to be a passer? Not really technically at all a running guy. He's going to be more of a threat with his arm. But, yeah, got to look for more targets too and wide receivers that he can throw to. But it's interesting.
We'll see. The biggest hindrance to Miami is obviously the coaching of Mario Cristobal and, his ability to give away a game or two down the stretch, games that a team that talented obviously shouldn't lose. And especially at the time when they did, the Hurricanes this past season dropped 3 of their final 4. One of those was the Pop-Tart Bowl where Cam Ward obviously didn't play in the second half and they were up whenever he was playing. But, that team, they they should have won the ACC championship in 2024, and they faltered it. And I'm not sure that this addition of Beck is going to do anything to get them back to where they're trying to go for the first time.
I think them getting Minnesota's defensive coordinator is going to be bigger than getting Carson Beck. That's just, that may be a crazy opinion, but their defense was horrific the last few years, and getting Minnesota's defensive coordinator, Minnesota's had great defenses the last few years. So we'll see if he can have the same kind of impact at Miami. But yeah, Carson Beck doesn't really move the needle for me in 2025.
Who's your top 3 quarterbacks in the state of Florida right now? With DJ Lagway having the season that he did in his freshman season, you got Thomas Castellanos coming in as a transfer dynamic guy that you're hoping can kind of bring back that Jordan Travis type of offense to Florida State. But now under the helm of Gus Malzahn on the offensive side of the ball with a new coordinator, where did the rankings
think about
go?
Who Florida Atlantic's quarterback is.
I was thinking like USF's quarterback was okay last year. I don't know if he's still there.
Oh, we're throwing them in there.
It's not a great group for the state of Florida quarterbacks right now. Lagway has a huge ceiling there in Gainesville, and I think he was a little overhyped last year. Like he's a good player, but he wasn't spectacular like a lot of Florida fans were saying. It's a dire state.
What do you have? What do you got, Dustin? You worried about getting clipped?
He didn't even number anyone. He just danced around the whole question.
And you're damn right, I'm not going to.
Based off projection, it would surprise me if Lagway's not at that number 1 spot by the end of the 2025 season.
He should be.
He's got a big arm, a very high ceiling, and they're keeping some of that continuity around him in Gainesville. Obviously, Napier coming back, so if everything goes as expected, he should be at that top spot.
All right. I said rankings. You got to continue. 2 and 3. Who's going to be 2 and 3?
Now you're really going to make
I'm the one that
look up USF's quarterback.
I'm the one that look. No, I'm not. We're not going that far. We're going top 3.
No, you said in the state. You said in the state.
No. Don't worry. I'm the one that looks at the YouTube comments. Y'all don't look at them, so I get to see what kind of hate we get or whatever kind of someone that has just nasty criticism on us. Let us know in the chat too. The chat, everybody's not. So we got 150 people in here. I'd like to hear the chat's opinion on it as well.
I'll put Beck at 2, Castellanos at 3.
Okay. I was in the same boat with you. I'm in the same boat with you because right now in the preseason, things can change when we get through the season, but this is a preseason projection. We predicted Florida State to potentially go to the ACC championship this last season. Did that happen?
Yeah.
Effing-lutely not.
I think I would actually have Castellanos 2 and Beck 3, just because I don't know what that arm strength is going to look like coming off.
Oh, Beck
I think
1.
I would have No. Castellanos 2 and then Beck 3.
Oh, okay.
Just because I don't know what Beck's going to look like coming off that injury. Maybe he comes out throwing like Tyler Van Dyke there his last year, where he couldn't throw past 7 yards. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all projection. I mean, you never know, especially an injury to your throwing arm. I mean, it's tough to overcome no matter what. And we've seen stuff like that take down quarterbacks. Especially you, Visa. You can point to Minnesota and obviously taking Christian Ponder in the first round, which maybe shouldn't have done that, but then him having those arm injuries that really affected his career.